I've seen and read a lot of books of creative people, and one thing that comes out as a pattern is they didn't give up. They were persistent. They weren't always the most talented, and I'd say that 100% with me. I'm not the most talented songwriter out of all the people that I've met and worked with, but I probably am the most persistent. The stories are there, you just have to write them and out they come. It's the editing and the discipline to finish. So that's the difference.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage.
So, who are you supposed to be? That's a question most of us avoid our entire lives. We become who others expect, follow paths that feel safe, chase dreams that aren't really ours. But what if you actually answered it? What if you stopped trying to fit in and started becoming exactly who you were meant to be? Well, on today's episode of Authors on Mission, where we explore how experts build their authority, share their message, and inspire others to do the same, we have an amazing guest today. His name is Greig Watts. He has spent his entire life chasing that question. Even when teachers told him he showed no enthusiasm for music, when career advisors said songwriting wasn't a real job, or when co-writers gave up and he kept going alone. So this is going to be a story about his whole life and, of course, his new book, Keeping the Dream Alive. It's about his persistence. It's about the decade he spent working in a bank while writing songs at night, and about learning to change the I to we and building teams that multiply your impact. And most importantly, it's about his grandfather's advice from his own life philosophy. Reach for the moon, you may catch a star on the way down. So without any further preamble, Greig, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Nice to meet you. What a great introduction. You've been reading the book really well. Details.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around, because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation.
I like to do my research as much as I can for my guests. I think it's important that I know the book we're talking about and we get to know my authors as well. So, yeah, and not for nothing, but your story kind of exemplifies what a lot of authors go through. The idea of, am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be following this path? Right. And
Yeah.
ultimately, you're a great example of that. So it's really prime for the show.
Good. Yeah, we're told so many times, you hinted on it as my teenage years, that's not a real job, songwriting, you shouldn't do it, in a sense. So you really have to sort of believe that you do, and believe and carry on going for it in a sense. And that really the mark of a songwriter all the way through, I think, is you have to keep on going even when people tell you to give up. So
Absolutely. And not just for songwriting, for writing in general, right? Or for anybody.
creativity. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody trying to pursue their passions.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's chat about you a little bit though, and then we'll dive into the book itself.
Yeah.
Um, I think that kind of going on this trail of you can never pursue that as a career. Um, One of your early experiences, you had a teacher who, on your first day of secondary school, kind of said something new that would always find a situation. It kind of shaped your approach to taking risks. This was Miss Thomas, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
very right. Yes.
So
Yes.
tell us about that story a little bit.
I shudder when I hear her name.
Oh
No.
no.
So basically, yeah, I was secondary school. I was a very shy kid. I came from, I now know there was a lot of autism in my family. We were all very, very shy. And I never really said much to anyone, but every now and then I'd come out with a gem. But first day of secondary school, didn't know many people. We didn't have lessons really. We just sort of got shown around the school. But the last lesson, drama, the teacher decided to ask everyone to introduce themselves and give us an interesting fact about themselves. And
Mm.
I did the normal thing of going very red and hid in the background. There's about 30 kids in the class, and every kid went before me saying, my name's Danielle and I like writing or whatever. And I'm slowly sort of squirming and sweating and trying to get out of this, thinking, I hope we run out of time before she gets to me. But
Right.
no, last one to go was me. And she said, right, you boy, you you tell us what you like. And I was like, well, everyone else, and it had to be something different. You couldn't say something the same as anyone else. So I kind of piped up and said, well, my name's Greg and I like football. And with soccer, that is in the US. And she said, well, don't be so ridiculous. Every young boy loves soccer or football. And basically made me sort of feel like I should shrivel up and go into a hole, even redder. And, I've in front of these school friends that I've got to make an impression on. And I kind of made a deal with myself from that point on that I would always go first. So, however much I hated it, I put myself, whenever there was we're going to have to do uh, not performance, but have to do a speech or some sort of drama or reading class, I always put my hand up, always went first, because I sort of, if you do that, then at least I can sit and watch everyone else squirm. And actually, by doing that, I've actually become a public speaker and have done all sorts of talks all around the world in conferences and things like that. So in a way, she did shape my life a bit. Not the best way to do it, I would say. But I kind of stood up and had a sort of running battle with her over the years at school. And she also said my poetry would go nowhere. And I've had #1 worldwide hits. So I guess she was the negative to make me go and do stuff. So,
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how that works like that sometimes. Somebody might say
yeah.
something with the worst intentions, and then it somehow ends up being the catalyst for what you shape your mindset.
Yeah, I mean the worry is that she said it to other things to other people, and I know she did something similar to my sister, and it affected her the opposite. So I think being someone who teaches and develops, you just have to do it in a positive way rather than a power hungry way. So I
Yeah,
actually
definitely.
use that exercise now.
Oh
Introduce
yeah.
yourself, tell me something interesting, but I'd never sort of say anything negative. I'm always encouraging. So
Yeah, I mean that's a great philosophy to hold on to for sure. I just think it's something encouraging rather than negative. But
yeah,
it goes both ways. It depends how you take it and your rapport with that person too, and
yeah,
your
yeah.
own confidence as well. So I think it all goes to play a part. But clearly, I mean, you went through life. You had a couple of different jobs, but you never really seemed to let go of that dream of getting into the music world and the writing world. So here you are now with your book published. And maybe this is a good segue to talk about the book itself. I mean, it opens with, will my music ever be heard? A question we all wonder, especially writers, will our book ever be read, right? So tell us about that. And, after 2 decades, what's your answer to that question?
I guess I wrote that with two meanings. Will your music ever be heard by the music industry? Because songwriters are pitching, and like book authors are pitching at publishers, and will it ever be heard by the world itself, by the public? So I guess in both instances, my message was you just have to keep going. You just have to keep writing. You have to keep pushing your music. As my experience has shown that it's just been when my partners have given up, the next thing happens and it goes, and you get your music heard. But it's the whole book is really about keep on going, keep on dreaming, keep on putting the right people around you, and things start to happen. So yes, your music will be heard if you keep on going. It won't if you stop.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, again, an amazing point there. And it's just something we always think about, though, just kind of going back to the question itself. Like, is it making any impact? Is it making a difference? So I think, it's a great way to start your book to kind of frame everything that comes next.
Mm.
And I mean, you go into the 5P formula also, which, kind of it directly relates to that question as well. What on earth is this 5P formula? Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
The 5P formula was just something I made up
Oh,
to, well, no,
okay.
it sounded good. No, when you're trying to sell yourself in the music industry, in any industry, I think really, I've got 5Ps that I would always advise people to use, which is one, be polite. I forever get people sort of in my inbox saying, "Hey, bro, what you do?" And it's like, one, their English isn't very good. Two, I'm not their bro, and it's like, you should be more polite and maybe do a bit of research, look up like you've done, so I know that you're going to ask me great questions because you've done your research. If someone just drops in your inbox, it's kind of just like a CC, email that anyone can get. So being polite first, be professional in your approach, make sure, show them that you mean not just that your songs are good, but you mean business. I'm here to do business. Thirdly, I think biggest one probably is be persistent. Never stop, never give up. I've got a thing about hustling and hassling, and don't hassle them. Don't literally, every day, but be persistent and hustle them once every couple of weeks, once a month, but be there like a rhythm that never goes away.
Mhm.
That's what we're in music after all. P, bit of a loose P, this one, present quality. So always deliver a quality product.
Mm.
If you always give quality, then even if they're not that interested and if they don't need you, then later they'll come back and say,
Yeah,
well,
they'll
I've
go
got
back
something
down.
else. So present quality is very important. And then actually be personal. I often write an email and say, hi, how are you today? Often I don't get any reply to that particular question, but other times I get answer from a stranger. Thanks for asking. That's really how, and then they tell me about their day. And actually, why not? I was in, just for instance, so I live in England. Sometimes it's a bit of a place where we say good morning to people and the other person looks at you and wonders why. I was in Barbados a couple of weeks ago. Everyone in Barbados says good morning to each other and you say thank you and they say you're welcome. Life is different when you're polite and you're personal and you want to do business with people. So if you're like that, then people come back.
Right. No, I think all of those P's have a significant meaning in their own way. If I have to pick one of them, I think the persistence for myself would probably be most impactful. I mean, I think they
Yeah,
all have, huge meanings, but I think for me, and especially for writers, to that persistence aspect, just, continuously, just being kind of like there, not pressing too hard, sending out your materials. But also I think it applies to like persistence and not giving up, like continuing to
yeah,
produce work and finish your projects and stick to the
yeah.
dream, just like you have. So
Yeah, and I think you'll find I've seen and read a lot of books of creative people, and one thing that comes out as a pattern is they didn't give up, they were persistent. They weren't always the most talented, and I'd say that 100% with me. I'm not the most talented songwriter out of all the people that I've met and worked with, but I probably am the most persistent. So that's the difference in a sense.
Right. Yeah, and it plays a big part too if you do it correctly as well.
Yeah,
Like who are you going to think of first? You might have, this one person from weeks ago who reached out, this one person that's been always on the back burner doing great stuff.
yeah,
Your time's going to come.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. And
well,
showing up, if you show up at something, people will see you.
mm,
Persistently show up and then people see you. And if you don't, I do this mentorship and I always tell my mentorship writers, show up, be there today. If you're not there, someone else is there and they get the job.
exactly. Yeah, no, and there you go. I mean, especially in today's day and age, a lot of people don't leave their houses. They send emails or video calls or texts, but actually showing up to an event and, you know, putting a name to a face is something incredible. I talk to so many people online, but I don't actually know what they look like because,
No,
there's
no.
my clients. I just see their profile picture, but I get what you mean. And actually, you have a story in the book that exemplifies this perfectly. You once sent out 250 La Confidence
La,
cassette.
la confidence, la confidence, or confidence. Depends if you if you understand French or not. And I didn't, so I got it wrong lots.
Okay. Well, yeah, but you sent that with a newspaper and chips design on it and kept
Yeah,
getting rejected, but it landed to a deal in Japan. So
yeah.
I guess that relates right back to the 5P formula. Is that right?
Yeah, in a way, I sent a lot of things out very professionally. I got a lot back because I sent a self-addressed Jiffy envelope back. Lots came back saying how much they loved the design, but music was just okay. So, but I got lots of answers back. But then it did lead to one, which was kind of one that I wasn't expecting because most of the people that I was pitching out were in the UK. And it actually was a UK address, but it turned out to be a Japanese dentist who had her own record label. And dentistry in the 90s in Japan was a very big industry apparently. So when I went to her house, it was an estate, not a house, and she was running a big record label from there. So
Okay, yeah, no, that's an incredible story and it just a perfect example of, exactly, what we should be looking for and searching for if we want to make an impact with our work, if we want to actually make it big, or if you want your music to be heard, right?
yeah,
So that's what you got to
the
do.
design was brilliant, so people looked at it. So in a sense, right from day very early on when I was pitching songs. I wasn't just pitching songs, I was pitching a concept and an idea and, and some design as well to catch people's attention.
Understood. Okay, yeah, no, I think that's really cool too. And I guess in the same way, like our book cover designs, same
Yeah,
deal, whether it's writing or music, whatever catches the eye.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but let's transition a little bit into the writing process itself, though. And for you, I suppose this could be a little bit of songwriting and book writing. Let's focus on exactly, keeping the dream alive itself. I mean, what was the moment when you realized you had to start putting your experiences into the written word? Was there a catalyst that made you decide I'm going to write a book?
But I imagine you've had this answer quite a lot recently, but COVID. Initially, I started to think about legacy. I've got my 16-year-old twins and now, but they were probably 11 then. I think I kind of wanted to start to tell my story. And I did. I kind of wrote a lot of the historical part of it, a lot of the stories about um, school and things you've heard there. Then we went back to work. Then I got busy. And then I started a mentorship and it became I was actually doing the book as a mentor on a sort of running courses, I guess, without knowing it. Then I came across a course which basically said, "Write your book in 30 days." And I thought, well, I'll sign up for that. I've been meaning to finish it for absolutely ages. And I had it written within 45 days. It wasn't quite 30 days. It took me ages to edit it because I was actually running a business at the same time, and editing, I think, is probably the slowest part. And then I turned 50 this year, struggling with a bad back. I've hardly been able to walk for about 18 months and actually had some back surgery in August, which is now much better, much better. But I was like, I must get this book finished during this time. I must get it out. So I made that my absolute priority, have the surgery. It basically paid someone to help me finish with the design and this and that and the other because it's not my thing. That's not my strength. I needed a team to do that. And then it was done by mid-September and released in October. So it's a few catalysts and things along the way, but it's kind of been coming, and it also feels the end of a cycle of that bad back and the 3 years of mentoring and need to be out. I actually wrote 12 chapters of book 2 whilst I was having my bad back as well,
Wow.
in the surgery, which the writing for me is easy. The stories are there, you just have to write them and out they come. It's the editing and the discipline to finish a book. Interesting, because that's how much I taught. So I tell songwriters, you must finish, you must finish.
Understood. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, you're a perfect example for what you preach, right? You
Well, it
you
took a
not
while,
only
but
exactly, but even with like all the setbacks, like the bad back, I mean, you found a way around it. And a lot of people would take that as a sign to just stop. But you didn't, you kept,
no,
good working around it, finding whatever you had to do to make it happen. So
yeah, yeah.
that's perfect. I'm glad you're doing better also. I'm glad that
Thank you.
it's
Yeah, it's great being able to walk compared to sort of drag your legs around. It was not very nice for a bit.
understood. So hey, I mean, kind of going along with that idea, like the concept of taking things at your own pace, but not, you know, giving up on it entirely. You actually preach about that a little bit in your book too. You write about it. You have a whole chapter on mind rest, actually, how you need some vacation time or space before you can absorb information in books. You talk about self-help books in particular,
Yeah,
but I think this has to do a lot with writing too. The pressure to keep writing, maintain momentum, but also balancing with the need to rest and recharge. So
yeah.
I think this ties right in. Tell us a little bit about that idea.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I always saw the songwriting as a job, and in a sense, we then put in hours like we would work 9 till 6.
Mm,
Like a job, normal job. Sometimes be more, sometimes less. But actually, creatively, that's you're turning up and you're trying to create on the spot, which does happen some days and doesn't other days. You have to create the atmosphere to actually make it happen. But I think what I found most helpful was I started to run songwriting camps in different locations. So I had one in Spain, which is by the sea. And I started to realize that when I had the creative break for a couple of days, I'd go 2 days beforehand, suddenly I was much more inspired. So I'd sit by the sea, listen to the waves, and then going into the writing sessions outflowed extra inspiration in a sense. So I then started to plan, okay, let's put 4 days before this so I can stop and have, and I do believe creativity, there's an ebb and a flow. just like the waves. It comes and goes. It's same as, the moon is pulling the waves. There's a very big power, and the place we go in Spain, Las Negras, one of the features is the moon at night, the waves during the day. So I think actually creativity, you have to have that ebb and flow. Yes, you need the momentum. Yes, you need to turn up. Yes, you need to treat it like a job. But sometimes you need to step away. And actually, I see songwriters do this where they come out of the room, they go out and get a coffee, and then they come back, and that's where the idea happened because they had to walk away from the tension,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's something a lot of people forget about, especially in the writing world. You think you just have to stay at your desk, keep pushing through whatever, fatigue or writer's block you might be experiencing, but sometimes that little break, that's all you need to
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
And you see, by having a break, you're seeing the world. And I think when you see the world, you can create because you're feeding yourself. Because really, when you're writing, you're sort of unloading, feeding, hopefully going to feed other people, or you know let them see what your work. But actually, you need to feed yourself with that as well. I think so.
understood. Yeah, I like that. And you got to think of yourself and others too. So you've really got a very well-rounded viewpoint in all of this and whatever, type of advice. That's great though. I mean, that's how you get things done and that's why you are where you are today.
I'm sure it hasn't always been this way. It's been you sort of work it out as you get older. So
Of course. I get that. But for you actually co-wrote a little bit of this. Is that correct? Am I doing that correctly? You kind of did co-writing sessions with this book?
not with the book. No, we no, the book's totally written by me.
Okay.
So I co-write
Songwriting then is
we
what
co-write songs,
you said.
lots of songs. Yeah. So I mean, and one of my big things is write songs with other people is a real. So again, as a writer, you can get dry, but if you're with two other writers who aren't dry, you're soon not dry. So you get sparks, you get inspiration. Difficult. There's the hard. I don't know if you. I've never tried that with book writing before, but certainly with co-writing songs, I always write now in a three or a four. Three usually, sometimes two, but on your own, sometimes you're sitting there thinking, what shall I write about? Song, and then three just creates a natural flow. So
Understood. No, I love that. That's so perfect. And it's what you need, right? You need to get a natural flow going in order to actually get
yeah,
something done. But it must be interesting to kind of collaborate with somebody and kind of pitch ideas back and forth in that way, whether it's, writing a song or writing a book, I'm sure you're like learning from the experience while also, kind of refining the other person's techniques as well, so it's
yeah,
collaborative effort. I think that's great. Um,
yeah. And I think at first it's really hard to let it go because it's your work, and then once you've done it a few times, you realize how much it grows by doing so.
Understood. Yeah. So kind of to just continue on with the conversation then, um, I guess, kind of in a broad perspective, thinking about the book itself. I mean, if somebody picked up your book and read it right now, and they were feeling discouraged about, rejection after rejection, what's one thing that you would want them to know and hold on to with them as they continue on their pursuit, aside from giving up?
Yeah, well, so firstly, keep reading the book because it will help you not give up. Secondly, yeah, don't give up. Um, I think put good people around you. Find good people. Find, like they say, the creative spaces. Find the passion for it. What made you passionate about writing in the first place? I always go back to the beginning and think, what or songwriting. I go back and listen to some of the amazing songs that made me love songs in the first place. That's less so now because now if I write a song, we're analysing it against current trends. So when I first started writing, so first discovered music, it was the early 80s. So I tend to go back to that period and listen to it and get re-inspired. So I think find inspiration in others, space, rediscover why you started writing because there's usually a catalyst that actually started it off.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what you have to think about then is to kind of go back and think of why exactly. And for you, I guess in a way that was your teacher along with your other passions. Everyone has that moment, right? Or at least you'd think so, or maybe a series of moments. So
Yeah, I
okay.
think series of moments lead you to something, but yeah, in a sense, mine was I just love songs, and there seems to be a song for every moment in my life, I would say. So whenever I'm feeling stressed about the work, I kind of feel, wow, I get to write songs, I get to travel, I get to do all sorts of different things, get to talk publicly. These are all amazing things which I wouldn't be able to do if I was in the bank. And there's nothing wrong with being in the bank. That's a great career for someone. But for me, it wasn't where I was supposed to be.
No, yeah, and that's exactly why you just have to follow your heart. And you were at the bank for some time, but you knew the change had to happen in order to actually, you know, get to where you need to be and get your dreams out on the paper into the music world as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, now that you have this book out and you've got, all of your music thriving, I'm curious to know like what's next? What's next on the agenda for you that people can be on the lookout for in the future?
Well, so the book's always been part of the mentorship that I'm doing, and I continue to do that every 3 months. We run mentorship for songwriters, and we do that trying to develop them as songwriters, but also to develop their music business acumen, their just knowledge of knowing. You asked about would their music be heard. Sometimes the music's not heard because they're pitching it in the wrong place. So we're trying to show them where they should be pitching it and things like that, but also build confidence. I see a lot of people who at the end of the course say their life's been changed because they've got confidence, they've got a community, they've got people around them that are supportive, they've got a team. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I will always push as well. Find the right people, find the right team, because then you're kind of unstoppable. A girls' football team for my daughters, and when they play as a team, they can beat anyone. When they sort of play individually and don't play as a team, and there's a bit, then anyone can beat them. But there's a difference when you've got the right team together. So
Right,
that's
absolutely.
one part. Second part, I guess I'm writing book two, Eurovision book, which is about, well, actually, right, I'm doing two books. I don't know. The Eurovision book is about winning Eurovision, Eurovision is a music competition in Europe. 250 million people watch it every year.
Which is
And
exactly what's behind you as you taught me
yes, what's
earlier.
behind me there, and we wrote the Czech Republic song here and the Polish song there. I haven't won it yet, so I can't finish the book, but I'm writing it prophetically that eventually I'm going to win this competition. And the second book is on work because I have a lot of autism in the family. I'm
Mm.
also doing some study and some on neurodivergence and a neurodivergent in creativity and songwriting. So that's because I find lots of writers and lots of songwriters are on the spectrum somewhere. So I found that interesting. And actually, again, because I have a lot of history in that, a lot of knowledge of that, I can really help unlock people's what I believe is superpowers, not differences, but really real big change that, real big gifts that people have got that they're just hiding. So
Absolutely. Well, this is all really powerful stuff. I'm glad to know that you kind of are keeping this mission alive. I mean, that's the name of our podcast too, right? Just the missions on the authors on mission, and you also have your own mission to
yeah,
make sure people get their music to where it needs to be heard.
yeah,
So yeah, I love that, and awesome with the Eurovision. I mean, crossing my fingers, hope it all works out well. I'll be keeping an eye on it now that I know more about it. Um, but that being said, then where can people reach out to you to learn a little bit more about what you do and just stay up to date with all these developments and so on and so forth? What's the best handle?
probably my Facebook page is what is it? Facebook.com/Greig Watts. Or the DWB Music Limited Facebook. It's probably where we're there on Instagram. I do have a website. I know it seems to be down at the moment because I think we've changed things, but that's www.dwbmusicgroup.com. But that should be there again in the next day or two. So and again, if you search my name, Greig Watts, GreigWatts, there's a bit about this in the book. You'll find me because I've got an I in my name. And in the book, it sort of tells the story of how I didn't like having the I in my name at one point, but now I do because my parents must have pre-known about the internet age or something. So, yeah, you can find me there as well. So,
Awesome. Well, guys, we're going to put links in the description box of this podcast today. So if you're
yeah,
interested, you want to stay in touch, click on
yeah,
over.
and on my email as well. Please
Oh,
put my email down as well. That's not a
of
problem. So,
course. The email in also. Perfect. All
cool.
right, guys, reach out, get connected. Don't hold back. That's the only way that you're going to keep your own dream alive by, get in touch with Greig, see what he can do for you, and also read his book. Check out Keeping the Dream Alive. It's something that I think we'd all benefit from, whether you're a songwriter or a writer or just need a little bit of, inspiration. It's important stuff. So, Greg, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed learning about your book and the writing tips and everything in between.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been brilliant.
Of course, of course. And to our Authors on Mission community listening today, if you are inspired today, of course, check out the links, reach out to Greg, like we said, and remember that whether you're writing songs, writing books, writing your own story, just keep the momentum, keep the dream alive, enjoy the journey along the way. And until next time, keep creating, keep believing, and keep believing, keep building on your mission. And speaking of mission, we'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast. And that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really great. I mean, you have some great insights, things that are like, unique from what others have shown, but and also like in a good way because people need to hear this stuff. It's a nice fresh take on it, kind of like relating it to the music world as opposed to just like the writing world, So
Yeah.
it's fun.
It's
Um,
very linked. It's very linked, but it's in a
it
sense.
is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, you never think about it as much, so I appreciate
No.
the
Thank you very
um,
much for having me. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna send this to the editors. They'll, add some audio, visuals, make it look nice. I
Yeah.
estimate it'll be about, I'd say, like 7 weeks or so until it's live. But if you need it before a
Okay.
certain date, just let me know.
No, no, that's
Otherwise,
fine.
I'll.
Just
Okay.
yeah, I work under your system. It's fine.
Yeah, of course. And I'll email you when it's ready to go, and we'll promote it, and we'll just keep, helping your mission along the way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Get some rest. I know it's kind of
Yes,
late
I'm
for
gonna
your end of
go
the
rush
world.
home now, have some sleep. But yeah, thanks very much for having us. If anything you need my way as well, just drop
Okay,
us a note and say it's be
will
great.
do.
All
All
right.
right. Have a
Thanks
great
very
day.
much.